Hi, I'm Nathaniel, and this is the AmmoCounter V3 installation for the Nerf Cam. Okay, so for this installation, we're going to need a few tools. We're going to need a screwdriver, a glue gun, wire cutters, wire strippers, a Sharpie, your AmmoCounter V3 Kit, a Dremel, 4 AA batteries, heat shrink, a soldering iron, which is off camera, and a lighter. Okay, before we start installation, let's go over the kit itself. So this is the kit and what you'll receive when you purchase it. If you look on the back, you'll see that there is a power wire. So the power wire goes on the left side with the black on the outside, and you just plug that in. These two wires will go to your toggle switch in the front of the blaster, and then you have 3 ports for your IR beam. So you want to plug that in with the metal pieces facing down. So just plug that in like this, and then your last connectors are going to be for your reset switch. And there is a extra wire in your kit that you can wire to your reset switch. So when you get done wiring that, you just plug it into here, and then your reset will work. Okay, so that's enough about the kit. Let's go ahead and get it started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is disassemble the blaster. What we're going to do is remove the screws around the outside of the blaster. You do not have to remove the screws from the stock or the front barrel. So after you remove all of these screws around the blaster, just lift off the top. And then you can set this aside because we won't need it till later. Alright, before we get started, I just want to go over a few pieces that may fall out during this installation. So there's a mag lock here that we can take out that will prevent us from losing the spring later. So I'm going to go ahead and pull all these components out and set them aside. Also, this button in the front tends to get lost, so I'm going to put that in there too. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is wire up the reset switch to the mag sensor switch down here that's located under the battery tray. Okay, in order to get to the mag switch, we're going to have to remove this battery tray. So remove these 2 screws and then gently lift the tray out. And what you'll see is that there is another lever switch here that we need to pull out. So just kind of lift that out, and then this will be free. Once that's free, get your clippers and then cut the 2 wires close to the camera assembly. We'll need this later, so I'm just going to set this aside. Alright, now we're going to have to remove the trigger switch and this plate here. So remove these 2 screws. This is for the trigger, and then this one's for the plate covering the trigger. You don't have to back this one all the way out. You just kind of take it halfway out. Alright, set that aside. Also pull your trigger out. Alright, then you're going to find another board here located at the bottom. Gently pull out the lever switch for the clip lock and pull that aside. Be careful of this piece right here. It's a little loose and it will fall out. And then remove this screw right here. Okay, once you have that, get your clippers and clip this red wire. That's your power cable that goes to straight to the battery, and then clip all the remaining wires off of this board. We don't need it. Okay, and then you can throw this board away. Alright, we do want to keep this switch because we're going to rewire it for our clip switch. So pull the red wire off and then clip that one really close to the terminal. And then you can set that down. You can remove this brown wire here. We won't need it. So kind of slide that back out and then clip that really close, but don't clip the white one. Just the black one. This is trash. Throw that away. This one we won't need, so you can get rid of it. And then we're gonna have to rewire this red wire here. So turn your soldering iron on and get your wire strippers, and then strip this wire and locate the red wire that you cut off of this switch, and we're going to strip it back because we're going to need to extend this a little longer so it can reach. Solder these two wires together and put some heat shrink on it. Okay, next you want to cut the other end off, and then you're going to solder that to the yellow wire here. Go ahead and pull back this black wire, we won't need that. You can clip that off, and then pull these wires back and strip them back. So this is your circuit for the rev trigger. Basically you have power coming through here. Let's put another couple of heat shrinks on here. You can use electrical tape too if you don't have heat shrink. And then connect these two wires, one to this red wire and then one to this red wire. Alright, so that will complete the circuit for the rev switch. So go ahead and reroute these wires back down into there. Now we're going to wire up the reset switch. So let's strip these two back. And then we're going to connect these to the the free wire that came in your kit. So in this case it's purple. Gonna clip that off, and these should be pre-cut for you, so go ahead and put some heat shrink on here and then solder them together. Okay, once we have that, you're going to place this piece back inside of here. Careful with this lock here. So push that back down in there. Make sure it's not in the way of anything. Looks like my red wire is in the way. Outside. Go. Once that's in there, you're going to reroute the wire to follow the red wire out. And then underneath this spring, just lift up the spring and run these underneath. Then keep running this wire right beside that red wire, and it should be free of all mechanical pieces. And then this just runs back here like that. Okay, so now we're going to replace the cover. Goes on the same way, came off. And then we're going to restore the trigger. Sure everything's out of the way. The trigger goes underneath. Pull this piece back. It goes underneath here, and it slides under like this. And that is it for the reset switch. This is optional. If you don't want to install this reset switch, you don't have to. All right, just make sure everything's free. Looks good. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is install the counter into the camera assembly. Okay, so in order to install the counter into the camera assembly, we're going to have to remove these 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then once you do, the camera assembly top will slide off. Like that. And I'm going to set this aside, but I will need it in a second, so not too far. So what you'll see is the circuit board. You can pull that out along with the LCD. And then we're gonna have to clip a couple wires, so grab your clippers and clip these gray wires. This is for your switch in the front. You're gonna clip, we've already clipped the power wires, and then we're gonna remove the speaker. You don't have to clip that, you can actually just remove this one. Take out these screws, and then this little cover comes off, and then the speaker will pop right out. Okay, so this is the assembly for the Nerf cam. We're gonna need one more piece. You're gonna need to remove these 2 screws here so that you can get the actual camera out. And a couple people have asked if they could put lasers, laser dots up in the front, and yes, there's a nice place here where you can do that if you like to. So just replace those screws, and then this is going to just slide back into the front here. All right, so that's how you remove the cam, and now we're going to install the counter. Okay, so to install the counter, we're going to need to clip all these wire ties off. And you'll see that there are 2 wires for the power. These will go to the battery tray, and there's also this longer wire for the toggle up switch, which will run to the wire that we cut back here. Alright, before we install this, we're going to have to clip a couple pieces of plastic. You're going to have to clip this pole here, and then there's another pole on the other side, this one right here. So clip this one and this one, these 2, you sit on top of each other, and it's okay because you won't see this when you put it back together. So just clip this off and then clip this one off. And they do get in the way of the counter, so that's why I need to clip them off. Alright, so the face goes in, just pushes down in like this, and then the buttons, they just slide into these 2 grooves. If you can't see them, there's one here and one here. Just slide them down into those grooves like that, and then we're gonna hook up our power, and we're gonna hook up our toggle button. We can also hook up our reset. Now the reset switch does turn the display off when the clip is out. So if the display isn't working, make sure you have a clip in. Or if you don't want that feature, you don't have to plug that in. That's totally fine. Alright, so we're just going to reroute these wires out of the way. Make sure everything is nice and safe out of the way. And then going to get the battery tray. I'm going to put it back in, with the wires underneath. Okay, so once those are in, you're going to take your 2 battery wires and clip those. I'm actually going to make them a little bit shorter so I have the room. And then connect the black to the black and the red to the red. go. And then you can just route this back, kind of tuck it down in here. All right, so now we're gonna get to the front of the blaster. But before we do, I want to test that everything is working. So grab your 4 batteries and install these. And again, remember that if the reset switch is plugged in, you won't see a display. So I went in and unplugged it since I don't have a clip in, but it's working. Toggles are working. All good. All right. So the next step is that we're going to go to the front of the blaster and install the toggle switch and the IR beam. Okay, so like I said before, we're going to install the toggle switch, and this will actually toggle up the counter when you hit it. So in gameplay, you can change your clip really fast. In order to do that, we're going to take our 2 wires that are remaining and remove the front of the barrel. To do that, you're going to have to remove the 4 screws out of this flywheel cage. And once you do, you're going to get a barrel assembly. Let's go ahead and strip back these wires and connect those so that our toggle switch will work. Okay, so that's it for the toggle button. We still need to set this aside because we got to install the last thing, which is the IR beam. Okay, so to install the IR beam, we want to lay the barrel on top of the assembly, and with a Sharpie, you're going to make a circle in between these 2 areas here on the barrel. So I'm just going to make a dot right there. And then with a Dremel, go ahead and Dremel a hole directly through, all the way through the barrel. Okay, so I've Dremeled a hole all the way through. The hole should be around a 1/4 inch wide. And the next thing we're gonna need is our IR beam. The IR beam is gonna slide over this way with the wire floating backwards. Go ahead and clip that off. All right. And in order to install this, we just need to slide it over the barrel until you can see the hole through the bottom. If you can see the hole through the bottom on both sides, then that's about aligned. Line as you want it to test. Go ahead and plug this into the ammo counter if you haven't already. Remember, it goes into the second connection, and the leads are pointing down, as I showed you before. Should have just left this plugged in, but I didn't. And then, once that's plugged in, turn it on, and you're gonna watch the counter and use a dart, or you can use your Sharpie, and just push the Sharpie in until it counts consecutively. That looks good. So I got it right the first time. I've done this 100 times. Once you have that, go ahead and put a spot of glue in the back right here. Let that dry and then test it again. Okay, everything looks good. Go ahead and put a couple more drops of glue around. And then let that sit somewhere and dry for a little bit. After that dries, we'll come back and we'll do the reassembly. Okay, so we have everything installed. We have our hot glue set, and we're ready to reassemble everything together. All right, so we're gonna have to install the barrel back into the barrel assembly. In order to do that, you're gonna have to remove this screw, or back it out at least, so that you get enough room to push this in. Now to do this is a little bit tricky, but it's not that hard to do. So you're gonna push this in like this, making sure the IR beam is in the back. Push it in. See, I don't have enough room. Push it in. And then you're going to align the IR beam so that it is angled like this. So I'm going to zoom in here. You see where this notch is right here? This notch should go into the bottom of the counter. Should lay in there. Once you do, push it back together, and then put the screw back in. You can always readjust this once we have it together. Okay, and then make sure that notch is in there because it's going to allow it to go back into place. Route the gray wire underneath. Lift the cage. Make sure these wires are free. This wire is going to go over top. You can pull this gray wire through to kind of get it out of the way and tuck it underneath. This wire is going to go through and above. Like so. There you go. Go ahead and restore these 4 screws. Okay, so that's it for the IR beam. Now we want to cup these wires inside like this. Again, before we reassemble anything, let's double check again. So turn it back on. Again, if you have a reset switch, it's not going to come on. So pull that off for a second. Double check. I'm going to use this really long screwdriver. So it's counting. Everything's good. Turn it back off. Put my reset switch back on. Okay. Now grab the top and align the slots. Making sure that you're free of any wires. Kind of take your time with this part. Also make sure that you didn't lose this button up here and that you have your camera spot here. Okay, looks like all these are free. Go ahead and restore the screws. All right, make sure all your wires are tucked. Nothing is hitting the trigger. You can push this button here and hold the rev switch and your trigger will work. So just make sure nothing's hitting in this area. I think looks good. All right, now we're going to restore these pieces here. This is your front button. To reinstall this, the flat part goes on the back. sits on top. And then for this, the spring goes into this hole, and then it just slides down like this. Make sure you don't lose that spring. And then this will sit on top, just like this. And then your button will go into the bottom. Okay. All right. Then restore the top. It's actually a lot easier if you pull the battery cover off. Kind of wiggle everything around, starting with these two right here. Get those in first. Then you're going to kind of wiggle around the back of the battery tray. Snap in the front. You also want to make sure that this piece is completely under. It's like a little lip here. It's completely under the white piece, so I messed that up. I'm going to have to take this apart and make sure this is underneath this white piece. Like that. Underneath. Start with the top and rock it back. So you can see this next piece is not, so it just goes on top. There we go. That's very important or it won't close right. It's flush now. All right, and then return the screws. And then last, we put the battery cover back on. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. Leave comments below. Thank you for watching.